The sun rises on a quiet Monday morning in 2026, and millions of professionals across the globe engage in a synchronized ritual. They silence an alarm on a high-end smartphone, step onto heated tiles in a bathroom they are financing over 30 years, and prepare for a job that many of them secretly resent. On the surface, they are the winners of the modern era. They possess the credentials, the titles, and the six-figure incomes that their ancestors would have viewed as a king's ransom. Yet behind the mahogany doors and the manicured lawns, a silent crisis is brewing. This crisis is not one of scarcity, but of structure. It is the realization that despite earning more than ever, the modern professional is more fragile than ever. They are caught in a sophisticated mechanism known as the salary trap, a system designed to convert human potential into bank interest and corporate stability. This trap is paved with good intentions and traditional wisdom, specifically the cultural obsession with mortgaged homeownership. To understand why you feel broke, despite a high income, we must first dismantle the myths we have been taught to worship as financial truth. The first pillar of this trap is the psychological fragmentation of income. In the digital age, money has become an abstraction, a flickering number on a screen that disappears before it is ever touched. When your salary hits your bank account, it doesn't arrive as a lump sum for you to command. Instead, it arrives as a pre-allocated resource. Before you can even consider investing, the invisible hands of the system reach in. The mortgage provider, the car financier, the utility companies, and the subscription services have already laid claim to your labor. This fragmentation prevents the human brain from perceiving the true cost of a lifestyle. When we pay for things in monthly installments, we lose sight of the total price. We view a $10,000 designer kitchen not as a massive drain on our capital, but as an affordable $300 a month addition to a mortgage. This is the first weapon of the salary trap, the illusion of prosperity through manageable debt. It allows the professional to live like a millionaire while having the net worth of a student. At the heart of this illusion lies the most sacred cow of the middle class, the mortgaged home. For generations, we have been told that renting is throwing money away, and buying is building equity. In the economic landscape of 2026, this binary logic is not only outdated, it is dangerously misleading. When you buy a home with a 30-year mortgage at current price-to-income ratios, you are not simply buying a house. You are buying a massive, long-term liability that dictates the terms of your existence. Let us look at the math of the unfree. When you take out a $500,000 mortgage, the first decade of your payments is almost entirely interest. You are not buying a home, you are renting money from a bank. If you factor in property taxes, homeowner association fees, maintenance, and the massive opportunity cost of your down payment, the hidden rent of homeownership often exceeds the cost of a traditional rental. Yet the system encourages this because a mortgaged worker is a stable worker. A person with a 30-year debt is a person who cannot afford to say no to a toxic boss or a soul-crushing corporate pivot. This leads us to the second weapon of the trap, lifestyle inflation, or what I call the upward spiral of obligation. As your career progresses and your salary grows, the system offers you a menu of upgrades. A better zip code, a safer luxury SUV, a more prestigious private school for the children. Each upgrade feels like a reward for your hard work, but each one actually tightens the golden handcuffs. You find yourself in a position where a 10% pay cut would result in immediate financial ruin. The irony of the high earner is that they often have less freedom than someone earning half as much with zero debt. Freedom is not defined by the size of your paycheck, but by the gap between your income and your required expenses. The system is engineered to keep this gap as narrow as possible. It wants you to be cash flow neutral, earning just enough to cover the high-octane lifestyle it has sold you, but never enough to build the walk-away money that would grant you true independence. Consider the concept of equity versus liquidity. Homeowners often brag about the equity in their homes, the paper value of the property minus the debt. However, you cannot buy groceries with equity. You cannot use equity to fund a new business venture at 2:00 a.m. Equity is Schrodinger's wealth. It exists and doesn't exist at the same time, and you can only access it by selling the roof over your head or taking on even more debt. True wealth is liquidity, It is the ability to move capital quickly to seize opportunities or weather storms. The 2026 professional must realize that we are living through a financial decoupling. The traditional path of study, work, buy a house, retire is broken because the cost of that path has outpaced the growth of wages. In many major cities, a standard apartment costs 20 to 30 times the average annual salary. To pursue this path is to commit to a life of high-stress servitude. The alternative is radical, refusing to play the game by the old rules. Choosing to rent and invest the difference is the ultimate act of financial rebellion in the modern era. By renting, you are paying for a service, housing, while keeping your capital mobile. When you take the $100,000 that would have been a down payment and put it into a diversified portfolio of global assets, you are creating a freedom fund. This fund grows via compound interest, but more importantly, it provides you with optionality. Optionality is the most valuable currency of the 21st century. What does optionality look like? It is the ability to quit a job that drains your mental health because you have 2 years of expenses in liquid assets. It is the ability to move to a different country when a better opportunity arises without waiting 6 months to sell a house. It is the ability to sleep soundly during a recession because you don't have a predatory bank breathing down your neck. The homeowner has a castle, the renter-investor has a fleet. In a storm, I would rather have a fleet. Furthermore, we must address the social pressure component of the trap. We are social animals, and we look to our peers for cues on how to live. When everyone in your circle is buying property and upgrading their cars, choosing not to do so feels like failing. Your parents might worry that you are unsettled. Your friends might look at your rented apartment with a hint of pity. But this is where the rich versus wealthy distinction becomes vital. Being rich is a matter of current income and visible spending. Being wealthy is a matter of invisible assets and time. The system loves rich people because they are the ultimate consumers. They keep the wheels of the economy turning with their high-velocity spending. But the system is terrified of wealthy people. A wealthy person is uncontrollable. They don't need the promotion. They don't fear the layoff. They don't care about the prestige of the zip code. By rejecting the traditional markers of success, you reclaim your agency. You stop being a revenue stream for the bank and start being an architect of your own time. To break the cycle, one must adopt a mercenary mindset toward finance. Your salary is not your identity. It is a tool to be used for the acquisition of assets. Every dollar that leaves your pocket should be viewed as a soldier. Are you sending that soldier to fight for your future? Or are you handing him over to a landlord or a bank as a prisoner of war? When you view a $5,000 mortgage payment through this lens, the dream of homeownership starts to look a lot more like a strategic defeat. We must also confront the inflation myth. Many people buy houses as a hedge against inflation. While it is true that real estate generally tracks inflation, so do many other assets that don't require you to pay for a new roof every 10 years. Gold, stocks, and even certain commodities provide inflation protection without the carrying costs of a home. When you factor in the interest paid over 30 years, the capital gains on a primary residence are often an accounting hallucination. The true path to freedom in 2026 is the asset-first strategy. This involves living as far below your means as possible during your peak earning years, not to be a miser, but to maximize the investment gap. If you earn $10,000 a month and live on $4,000, you are buying $6,000 worth of freedom every single month. Within a decade, the compounding returns on that freedom will likely exceed your cost of living. This is the moment you exit the matrix. You still work, but you work because you choose to, not because you have to. The salary trap thrives on your exhaustion. It wants you to be so tired from your 60-hour work week that you don't have the energy to do the math. It wants you to reward your stress with more consumption, which in turn requires more work. It is a closed-loop system of exhaustion and obligation. Breaking free requires a moment of radical clarity. It requires looking at the golden cage and realizing that the door has been unlocked the entire time. In conclusion, the decision between buying a home and investing is not merely a financial one. It is a philosophical one. Do you value the feeling of ownership and the approval of a traditional society? Or do you value the reality of freedom and the power of liquid capital? As we move further into the volatile economy of the late 2020s, the security of a mortgaged home will increasingly be revealed as a heavy shackle. Build your wealth in the shadows. Let your peers brag about their renovated kitchens while you quietly accumulate shares in the companies that own the world. Let them be house poor while you are freedom rich. The goal is not to have a big house to retire in at 65. The goal is to own your time, your energy, and your future starting right now. The salary trap is only a trap if you don't know it's there. Now that you've seen the mechanism, the only question left is, when will you stop being the fuel and start being the pilot? The path to independence is lonely at first, but it is the only path that leads to a life without shadows. Reject the trap. Master the math. Reclaim your life.